Hey guys, this is Steve with TronicsFix, and today I'm going to show you guys how to clean your Xbox One X. So the first thing you need to think about when you're thinking about cleaning your Xbox One X or any other game console, whether it's the PS4, PS4 Pro, or the Xbox One S, is where does the air come in and where does the air get exhausted on the console. So on the Xbox One X, the air comes in on this side and it comes in on this side, and then it gets exhausted right out the back. There's two places, one is over here and one is right over here. So that's the first thing to think about when we're thinking about cleaning it, is what part actually needs to be cleaned. So the cool intake air needs to come in the sides. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the sides are clean. There's several ways you can do that. You can use something like canned air to blow along that periodically. That's an easy way to do it. If you haven't cleaned it in a while and you notice there's getting some dust or hair or any sort of buildup there, you can take a brush similar to this and you can just brush along here like this, and then you can take something like canned air and blow along the side to get that dust out of there. And you can do the same thing on the other side. Now, anytime I do a video like this, someone always asks, is it okay to vacuum your console, especially on the sides or in the back? And the answer is yes. There's absolutely no problem with vacuuming your console. When it comes to getting dust out, it will create no problems at all. Now, as far as cleaning the exterior of the console, these two vents on the side and the one in the back are really the only ways that you can clean the exterior. Another thing to keep in mind though is make sure that when you're playing your console that it's in an open area, such as on top of a desk or a nightstand or something like that, or even a TV stand, so it can get plenty of fresh air going into the console. Make sure that there's not anything right close to the sides of it, because if there's something close to the sides, then obviously air is not going to be able to get in. Now on the Xbox One X, it is normally okay to put something on top since there's no air vents going in. So on top shouldn't hurt anything, and you can also stack this on top of another console and it should not hurt the performance or how hot this gets or anything like that. So that part is fine, and as long as you make sure there's plenty of ventilation for air getting in, that's as much as you can do for the exterior of the console. Now let's take the cover off and look at the inside and see what we can clean there. So in order to get inside the console, you'll need to remove one screw here and one screw here, and these are both Torx T10 security bits or screwdrivers, and it is the bit with the hole in the middle, and that's what you'll need to take this apart. I've linked all the tools and cleaning supplies you'll need in the description below, so you can purchase those if you need them. So we're going to take these two screws out, and then we'll get the case off, and then we'll look at cleaning the inside of the console. Now, after you remove those two screws, you simply push the top of the case forward, and you can lift up on this edge and keep lifting. You may need to move this edge back and forth a little bit until it comes all the way loose, and then you should be able to just move it forward like this and remove the entire top case. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is remove this screw, this screw, this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw. Now these are going to be the long screws that go all the way through this case, all the way down, and screw onto the bottom of the case. Essentially what we need to do is remove this bottom case from the rest of the console. And then after those screws are removed, we need to remove these two screws using a Torx T8. And this piece just has a connector underneath, so pry it off gently, and then that piece is off. And then we need to remove this ribbon cable right here. Just gonna get my thumb under the locking tab and pull it out. Then I'll use a pair of tweezers to pull it out further. And then we have it all the way out. Now once all that stuff is removed, we can pull up gently on the back of the console and then pull back this way towards myself. And then we have this part of the console out, and we can remove the bottom part. And now we can flip it over, and we need to remove any screws holding this top plate onto the console. After those two screws are removed, we can remove this plate from the console. To do that, we're going to lift up on the back part first, and then we need to lift this out as well. So we'll lift carefully, and then we'll lift the front out carefully as well. And you can see there's some metal mesh right on the front here, and that's what we have to make sure clears this plastic piece to get this off. Now with that metal piece off, we can get in and clean the fan and also the heatsink. Now this may be far enough for you if your fan and heatsink aren't too dirty. You can see that you can get to the fan at least a little bit, and then also you can see the heatsink through there as well. So if your fan and heatsink aren't too dirty, you can just use some canned air and blow in there. You don't want to get the fan spinning too fast, but canned air most likely isn't going to get it spinning nearly fast enough. If you want to clean your heatsink out, you need to point the air into the heatsink and really get it inside there to get the dirt pushed out through the heatsink. Now if it's really dirty, if there's dirt and hair and stuff caked on there, you're going to need to remove this entire heatsink and fan assembly, so I'll show you how to do that next. The first thing we're going to need to do is remove the power supply, and on the bottom side of the console we're going to need to remove this screw, and that will release the power supply. Another thing to remember is all of these screws under here are the T10 Torx screws. Now that those two screws are removed, we can flip it over. We're actually going to remove the disk drive off of this little tab right here, so then we can get the power supply out. With that removed, we can pull up on the power supply. There is going to be a wire connector that goes all along here. So the power supply, we're just going to fold up and over that. And there is some adhesive foam here, which is fine. We'll just fold it up and out of the way. Now with that removed, we have one more screw underneath, and that is this screw right here. Now I am using my other hand to hold the disk drive in, just because we obviously don't want that to fall out. So when I have this turned over, I'm using my other hand to hold the disk drive in right over here. Now we'll flip it back over and we remove the fan. Now we're not going to pull up too hard on the fan because we do have the fan connector, which is located right down here by the disk drive. So I'm going to remove the disk drive right now just to get it out of the way. I'm going to use a pair of sharp needle nose pliers. When I say sharp, I'm talking about the threads on the needle nose pliers. You want those threads to be nice and sharp so you can pull the connectors off cleanly. You have to be very careful not to pull the connector off the motherboard, just the wire part that goes to the disk drive. So I grab on each side of it and wiggle back and forth, and that's what gets the connector off. So then I'll move the disk drive aside, and then we have one connector for the fan right here. I'm going to do the same thing with my needle nose pliers. You have to be very careful to grab the fan connector only and not the connector on the motherboard. Now with that removed, we can remove our fan, and as you can see, we can get right in there and clean whatever we need. We can get to the front side, the back side, and we can even get inside there if we need to really give that a good cleaning. And with that fan all the way off, we can get to this side of the heatsink. Now, most of the time, this side of the heatsink is going to be the side that builds up with dirt and dust and whatnot, because the fan is blowing air through the heatsink going this way. So this side of the heatsink is what's going to get built up with dirt and dust and hair and that sort of a thing. And what I do is just use a brush similar to this, and I just brush it out first, make sure I get as much as I can with the brush. Then I use something like canned air, or you can use a vacuum to pull it out. You can do it however you want to. It's not going to hurt the console. And that just gets the heatsink nice and clean, and I make sure that I look through it. You should be able to see right through it with no problem. And if you can, that means that it's nice and clean and you'll have no problems. So that's how you clean out the exterior and the interior of your Xbox One S if it gets too dirty or dusty, or if it says it's overheating or anything like that. That's how you give it a good cleaning. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comment section if you have any comments or questions about this video. I'll hang out for a couple hours after I put this video live so you can ask any questions you want. Always let me know if there's any other videos you want to see. Thanks for supporting my channel, and I hope you have a good one.